Okay, test review. You will need the multiplication table, and you will also need this sheet that tells you this. It won't be purple, but it'll be x squared x second only. So before we go solve any kind of equation, which is what we're supposed to be doing here, you need to list what you have for x's. So you have x to the second, and you have x. So x second and x, I'm applying factoring properties, okay? Or you can put FP if you want. Okay, so factoring properties, list your solution set. That means this, highest exponent's at 2, so there are 2x equals. Okay. You make sure you're at 0. If you are, check it. And you count the terms. You have 2 terms. Okay, so 2 terms, you go GCF, then you see if you have a difference of perfect squares. Okay. Okay, so let me see if you have a difference of perfect squares. Okay, now GCF, you have the last slot, we have x. There's x on both the slots. You take the one at the end, x, that comes out here. Now, check your front slot for a negative. There's not one. Then 2 and 4. So here's 2, here's 4. Those are both in row 2. Okay, then you're putting 2x out there. So this is what you bring up and divide by, not just by 2, by 2x, the full thing. Okay, so 2 divided by 2 is 1. We are dividing by x here, so we take the x second divided by the x. It's x, 2x's divided by 1x. X second, that's why we get 2. So there's a remainder of x next to the 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2, and then x divided by x just cancels it out. Okay. Okay, now what do you do when you do the GCF? Well, you bring it over here. Then you cross that out, and you cross out that. Okay, don't want to see that. And you're just looking at here to see if that's a dots. Well, for it to be a dots, you need a positive and a negative. Well, this isn't negative. Okay, so you write no right away. And because if the signs are wrong, it can't be a dots. Then you bring over your 1x plus 2. You set that equal to 0, and then F1, F2. So 2x could equal 0, or 1x plus 2 could equal 0. So you're dividing by 2 here. That's 0. Then over here, if you have times 1, just get rid of it. Okay, you just need to subtract 2. 0 minus 2 is negative 2. Okay, number 2, x to the second power minus 4x minus 12 equals 0. What do you have for x? You have x to the second, you have x. Stay on this side, you're doing the factoring properties. Okay, so factoring properties. List your solution set, the highest exponent, b to the second. You see the second, that means there's 2 answers for x equals. You make sure you're at 0, you are. Now you count your terms, slap a 1 there, and you see there are 3 terms. So 3 terms is GCF followed by the table. I will put the parentheses after I find the missing numbers. We do need to know what A equals. Okay, so I do not have x on the end. Don't put x then. You see here you did. You don't have it in the last slot here. Not everything has x. Okay, you don't have a negative in the front. Okay, so 1, 4, and 12. So 1's the smallest of the 1, 4, 12. Here's 1, 4, 12. They're all in the one row, so we're not doing that because that's a waste of time. So I take my A times my C, 1 times negative 12. 1 times negative 12 is negative 12. So a negative is a mismatch. The factors to multiply to a negative have to be mismatched, positive, negative. That means they have to be the opposite, different. And then we're adding to whatever my B is, which is negative 4. Okay, so start finding factors of 12 by dividing. 12 divided by 1 is 12. So you add those, that's negative 11. 12 divided by 2 is 6, so I put 2, 6. You just take 12 divided by 2. 2 plus negative 6 is negative 4, so we have found the mystery numbers. Now put in your parentheses, and you put in the mystery numbers. Now your A, x second, multiplied by 1, okay? So x second, you're always going to go x times x. And then you put the 1 in front of the x's. Now you divide. 1 and 2 are together in row 1, that's it. So 1. 1 and 6, 1, 6, row 1. Okay, so divide, it's going to be 1x plus 2. And 1x minus 6. They just stay the same because you're dividing by 1. So this ABC has turned into 1x plus 2 times 1x minus 6. You bring those parentheses over. So F1, F2. So 1x plus 2 could equal 0. 1x minus 6 could equal 0. Okay, if your dot number's a 1, take it out, you minus 2. 0 minus 2 is negative 2. Dot number's a 1, take it out, you add 6. 0 plus 6 is 6. Okay, negative 2 and 6 are the answers. Okay, in my next equation, 4x plus 3 equals 6x plus 13. So you have x, plain old x, and then at plain old x again. Don't write it a second time, so this is x only. Okay, there's no x to the second anywhere to be found. So x only, you're applying linear properties. Okay. So list your solution set. Since x doesn't have a power, there's only 1, okay? Collect the x's into 1. They're on opposite sides, so you take out the smaller one. Minus 4x, minus 4x. 3 is equal to 2x plus 13. So you minus 13, minus 13. 3 minus 13 is negative 10. And 2 times x, okay? And you divide both sides by your 2. Now x is by itself, negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 5. Okay. Number 4, 4x to the second power minus 3x minus 7 equals 0. So list what you have for x's, okay? X to the second, x, so there's more than one kind of x you're using. Back to factoring properties. Okay, so list your solution set. 2 is the highest power, so there's 2 answers. Okay. So equals 0, we're there. So you have 3 terms, so it'd be GCF, and then the table. Okay, so here's the slots, okay? I don't see x, they don't all have x, so you don't put that there. Negative's not in front. 4, 3, and 7. So out of these three numbers, here's 3 up the table. Here's 3, no. 3, 4, and 7 are just in 1. So the GCF's 1, we don't do it. So I find my A times C product. 4 times negative 7 is negative 28. Okay? So that's a mismatch. It is a positive times a negative. You are adding to try to make it to negative 3. Start dividing. 28 divided by 1 is 28. 1 plus negative 28 is negative 27. 28 divided by 2 is 14. So put 2 with 14. Add those. That's negative 12. Decimal. 4 and 7. 4, 7. 4 plus negative 7 is negative 3. You got it. Okay. Now, put in your parentheses, and you have to know what A equals, because that tells you what to put in front of the X's. Now, when I put A, that's not what I'm adding to. It's the A, 4. So it would be going X times X, so it'll be XX, but I will be placing a 4 in front of the X's. Okay? Now we have to simplify by dividing. Okay, 4 and 4. Well, the numbers are identical. Okay, so you would divide by 4. That's 1x plus 1. 4 and 7. Those aren't identical. They're just together in row 1, so divide by 1. 4x minus 7. So this ABC becomes this. Remember, 1 times 4 should be what A is. And then 1 times negative 7 should be what C is. And they are. Okay. So 1x plus 1 times 4x minus 7. Then F1, F2. So 1x plus 1 could equal 0, or 4x minus 7 could equal 0. Minus 1, minus 1. So 1 dot x equals negative. You don't get rid of that 1, so you just minus 1. It's negative 1. Okay, this one has a 4, so we'll have to divide by 4. So 0 plus 7, 7. Then you divide by 4. 7 divided by 4 is 1.75. If you like fractions better, once you get to 1.75, you second PRB, it'd be 1 3/4. Okay, number 5. You have x to the second only. Okay, so x second only is not factoring. X second only is linear properties followed by a square root. So you write linear properties and then square root after it. Okay. See, x only is just linear properties. It's linear properties. So you list the solution set. Your x is to the second, so there's 2 answers. Okay. You collect the x's into 1. They're already collected into 1. That's the only x I see. Now wall, multiplying, second power, circle the multiplication. You would add 27 to the 0, and that's 27. Then you would divide each side by 3. And x to the second, 27 divided by 3 is 9. Now you need to get rid of your second power by finding the square root of the number 9. Now remember, that could be, anytime we square root, it could be positive or negative. So the square root of 9 second, and then that key next to the 7, it's 3. Because 3 times itself is 9, so it's negative 3 times itself. So 3, negative 3 are the answers. You got to remember the square root. Okay, now, next problem. A soccer goalie throws the ball into the air at a height of 8 feet with an initial velocity of 28 feet per second. For how many seconds does it hit the ground? So there's my answer. So I have feet and seconds. Seconds is x, feet is y. Time is always x. Then feet per second. Feet per second is 28. 28 times x. Now, this doesn't make a line. When you throw an object into the air, it goes up, it comes down through the force of gravity. Okay? So if you see gravity, you're going to have an x second with a negative 16, guaranteed, even though it's not in the problem. Okay, so what goes up must come down. So before 28 feet per second, you see 8 feet, not you see something. Now you don't see anything after it, so it's 0 feet. Okay. There's nothing after it, you put 0 with feet. Now you make kind of a big box, not a little puny one. So when I see that and I have to write an equation, I've got x to the second, and then x followed by constant equals y. So negative 16 goes in front of the x to the second. 28 goes in front of the x. Then here this 8 goes in for the constant, so we have to keep it. It's not 0. 0 feet goes in for y. So put equals y. And then you just take your y out and put 0 in. Now it's a regular problem now that this is set up. So do your thing. List what you have for x's. Just do it right here. You have x second. You have x. You have to use your factoring properties. So factoring properties. Okay, so list your solution set down in the corner. You have x second, so that makes 2 answers. Okay, equals 0. You have it, check it. And you can clearly see we have 3 slots, so GCF table. Okay, so is there x on all 3 slots? No, this last one doesn't have it. So you can't be dividing by putting an x out there if it's not. You got a negative there? Yes, you do. But don't put x because they don't all have x. 16, 28, and 8. So 8's the smallest number. Okay. So there's 8, 16, but I see no 28. So I go up the table. There's 8, 16, and 28, all 4. So it's negative 4 without the x. So you need to divide by negative 4. Just negative 4 though, not x. So negative 16 divided by negative 4 is 4. We're not putting an x underneath, so that x will stay to the second power. 28 divided by negative 4 is negative 7. We're not putting an x down there, so that will stay as x. 8 divided by negative 4 is negative 2. Okay. Now, table. This is why I tell you what to do. You put the negative 4, just put it over here. Then you cross it out and cross out the original because this is now our ABC right here, with A being equal to 4x to the second. Okay? Okay, so that's for later. Now you find your AC product. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. That is a mismatch. So that's a positive, negative. Now what do you have to add to though? You have to add to the B. Here's my B, negative 7. 1 and 8, right away. 1 plus negative 8 is negative 7. We got it, okay? So you put in your parentheses, you put in your positive 1 and your negative 8. Now the x second, you know that's going into x times x. You place the 4 this time in front of the x's and you try to divide. 4 and 1, okay? 4 and 1 are together up here in row 1. 4 and 8. 4 and 8 are together in row 4. So that'll stay the same, but the second one won't, because you're dividing by 4. That's 1x, negative 2. So this ABC, this trinomial, has become this. Remember, 4 times 1 should be the A. 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. That should be C. So you bring those over here. Make your parentheses outside right where I am. Equals 0. This does not have an x, just slash it out. You don't deal with that. So 4x plus 1 could equal 0. 1x minus 2 could equal 0. So I minus 1, minus 1. 0 minus 1 is negative 1. Then I divide by 4, and that is negative 0.25. You can put the decimal, or you can second PRB it, and it would just be negative 1/4. Now, ditch the 1. You don't need the multiplier 1. You just add 2. X equals 2. Because if you divide 2 by 1, it'd still be just 2. Take the positive over here, and that's the answer. Okay, next problem. A bouncy ball is bounced off the ground with an initial velocity of 64 feet per second. After how many seconds does the ball hit the ground, okay, from its way back up? Okay, so feet and seconds. So seconds is x, feet is y. Then per feet per second. Feet per second, that's going to be 64. 64 times x. Okay. Okay. Now the bouncy ball is going up, it's coming down. This is off the floor. It hits the floor there, it bounces up with that velocity. Okay. Whoops, don't draw that. It goes up, down. We'll draw that over here. Okay, so gravity is negative 16. X to the second. So it going up comes down. There's nothing before 64, so that's 0. And there's nothing after it, so I assume I'm going to be using 0 feet there. Nice big box. So we got x to the second, then x, then constant equals y. So negative 16 is my x to the second, 64 is my x. This 0 feet here goes into the constant slot. Well, if it's 0, you don't need it, and you just have 2 terms, okay? This 0 feet goes in place of the y, since feet is equal to y. You need to put the 0 there, though. Okay, so now it's not a story problem, it's a normal problem. X second and x. X seconds here, so is x. You are using your factoring properties. So, list your solution set down here, determined by the highest exponent, which is a 2. Make sure you're equal to 0, you are, and you count your terms. There's only 2 of them, so that's GCF. Then I would see if we have a difference of perfect squares. Okay. Okay, now, 2 slots both have x. You take the x on the last slot out here. This time we do. Negative, we are going to need a negative. Then 16 and 64 are the coefficients. So 16, 64, it's in row 16. That's the maximum row. So you put that there and you go up and divide by negative 16x. Okay. So this is 1. Now I am putting an x under the line, so I need to divide my x second by my x. That would be x. 64 divided by negative 16 is negative 4. Then you divide your x by your x, and that's a complete wipeout. Okay. Now, bring over your negative 16x just like you would on a problem. You're just putting it out there. Now out and out. Now positive, negative, so that could be a difference of perfect squares. Then these are the perfect squares. So here's 1, that'd be 1 times 1. X, though, is not to the second power, so you can't go XX, and if you can't do that, get rid of it, okay? So no dots, you bring over your 1x minus 4. Okay, so F1, F2. Again, x has to be to the second power to go XX, okay? 4 would be 2 times 2, so if that was x to the second, yeah, it'd be 1x, and 2, 2, but it's not. So you divide both sides by negative 16 and you get 0. There's your first answer. If you have times 1, get rid of it, just plus 4, and that's your answer. X equals 4. So you take the higher answer, 4, over there, 4 seconds. Okay, then for this last one. This last one, you will need to use your GCF calculator online. So you go to a Google search, okay? And you simply search GCF calculator. Just use the first one, okay? Clear that, okay? Patio has an area of 12 by 15 feet. I want to add the same amount of area to all sides. How many feet wide does a new built-on addition need to be? The new area is 238 square feet. Now, you're going to make a thing and put 12 and 15. Doesn't matter the order, just do it the way I do it in the video, and you're building a border around it. Now you split it right down here. This should be wider than this. And you need to write your length width, okay? So parentheses for the length times the parentheses for the width equals my area. Put A up there. Well, our area is 238, so you put 238 there. Now the length, okay, that's across. I didn't leave much room here, so just go up on top instead of on bottom. And then mark where the middle begins and ends. So from here to here is 12. And we don't have these, so that's x. So that's 2x plus 12. It's got to be 2x, not x to the second, because you're adding 1x and 1x, that's 2x. Now, the width, that's the side dimension, okay? So from here to here is 15, x and x, that'd be 2x plus 15. Now, you can't use this sheet yet, you need to multiply this out, okay? So you distribute your 2x to your 2x and your 2x to the 15. This is known as the FOIL method, okay? You've done it before. So 2x has 2 rainbows. I write it twice, and I multiply it by 2x and then by 15. Now we can cross that out. Now you have to repeat the same process with your 12. Okay, now where the distribution's set. So first off, you see x times x. Well, that's x to the second. Quit putting ones there, okay? 2 times 2 is 4. Your times in 2 unknown x's is to the second. Then here you just have x, and then 2 times 15 is 30. Here you have x, 12 times 2 is 24. And then there you take 12 times 15, and that gives you 180. Now, slot that right here before you come over here. So x second is 4, 30 plus 24 is 54, and then you have 180. So just bring that over here. You don't need to do the slots. Just write 4x this second plus 54x plus 180. You still need to drop down the equals 238. Now, this is no longer a story problem once the parentheses have been eliminated, okay? You have x second and you have x, you need to apply factoring properties. Okay. All right, so list your solution set down in the corner. Highest exponent's a 2. Equals 0. Oh, we're not. We need to get the 0 there, minus 238. Now you can put that under the 180 or just minus it and hang it out. Because normally if I have to get the 0 on my own, I do my slots, x second, x constant. So x second's 4. X is 54. Now the constant, you need to add your 180 to your negative 238, or you can just take 180 minus 238. Doesn't matter, okay, as long as you end up with negative 58. So you can do that, or you can just take, if you put it under it, you just take 180 minus 238. It's the same thing, okay. Now I'm seeing 3 terms, so GCF table that. Okay, so they don't all have x. This is missing an x. Don't put it. No negative. 4, 54, and 58. Now this is why you're going to want to use this, because see 4, it wouldn't be 4, but the problem is that 2 rows not big enough to see. So you enter in 4, comma 54, comma 58. And they'd be in the second row if the chart were bigger. So you put a 2, but you can't put an x, you can't put a negative, just 2. So now again, I'm not putting an x under there, so it's just 2 with x to the second. Then that 54 divided by 2 is 27, and then the x stays in there because I'm not putting x on the bottom. Negative 58 divided by 2 is negative 29. Now you bring that GCF here, cross this stupid thing out, and cross that out because this is your ABC now. So you take positive 2 times negative 29, negative 58. So that's a mismatch. It is a positive times a negative. It has to add to positive 27. 58 divided by 1 is 58. That adds to negative 57. Also remember to put your A equals, it's x second, and the A is 2. Okay, there's my ABC, A is 2. Not anything else but where the big A is at. Not the add number. Okay, 58 divided by 2 is 29. Well, I stopped dividing. I just need to make it so it's positive 27, which you do. You still need to mismatch, but you just switch where the signs are at. Okay. Now you can put those in. See, negative 2 plus 27 would be the plus 29 would be the positive 27. So negative 2, positive 29. And then remember, the x second's always written as x times itself, but we put the 2 in front. Okay. Guys, these are identical numbers. You just divide by 2 here. 2 and 29. Look, I understand that nope, 2 and 29, so it'd just be up to 1. Everything's in 1's row. So that would become 1x minus 1, and that would stay the same. So you line those factors over here. Again, make sure 1 times 2 is equivalent to the numbers in front of the x. When you times them in your head, need to be the x second it is. That doesn't have an x, get rid of it. Okay, F1, F2. Okay, so 1x minus 1 could equal 0. 2x plus 29 equals 0. Take the 1 off the front of the x, you just add 1 and it's 1. You need to keep the 2 here because dividing by 2 does change the answer. 0 minus 29 just takes us to a negative. When you take 0 minus a number, it's just a negative of that number. divided by 2. Negative 29 divided by 2 is negative 14.5. Okay. You put the positive over here.